Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to your English lesson today. Okay, before we begin, I've got some questions that I would like us to answer. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about our diary entries that we were looking at last week. So we've got these 4 questions. What I'd like you to do is pause the video here and have a go at answering them. And then we're going to come back and go through the answers together. Pause the video now here. Welcome back. Okay, so diaries are an example of fiction writing. Now remember, fiction is something that's not true. Is that true or false? It's false. They are non-fiction. They are an account of real things that have happened. Diaries are written in the third person. Is that true or false? It is false because they are written in the first person. You are talking about yourself. So it's I, me, we. Okay. The tense, what tense are diaries written in and why? Well, they're written in the past tense because they're talking about events that have already happened. They're not talking about the events that are going to happen. They're talking about the past events that have already happened. So which of these features would I not find in a diary? Would I find chronological order? Actually, yes, I would, because when we order the events, we have to make sure that we order them in the order that they happened, chronological order. Dates and times. Well, yes, we would find dates and times because that's really important to know when something happened and at what time. So the thing that we wouldn't find is subheadings. Did you get all those right? Excellent. If you didn't and you found that tricky, I want you to go back to the lesson where we talked about diaries and the features of diaries and have a little look over that again to help you. Okay then. So a little recap on what a diary is. A diary is usually a private daily recording of a person's viewpoint, experience and feelings. Diaries allow the author, which is you, the writer, to record what they do on a day-to-day basis. And diaries are often a fantastic source of primary evidence in history. Do you remember we talked about Samuel Pepys and how his diary of the Great Fire of London was a brilliant primary evidence because it was happening right there. He wrote it whilst that was happening. And what's the purpose of a diary and who is the audience? Well, diaries, that's the plural of diary, are used solely for a person to express their thoughts and feelings. Do you remember we talked about journals and we could write things down in a notebook? They're not supposed to be read by others, the audience, and they're often kept a secret. And the only audience that a diary has is the writer, the person that is writing that, the author. Whilst the details of the events can often be elaborated on, that means you can add in bits of extra information that might not have happened, they are not works of fiction, so they are true, they are real life, they are non-fiction. So they are a non-fiction type of text. Now, what I'd like you to do here, you have this on your worksheet, and what I want you to do is pause the video and I want you to give me examples of date, first person, past tense, chronological order, informal style, thoughts and feelings, time, adverbials and conjunctions. Pause the video here. Have a go at completing that now. Welcome back. Okay, let's move on then. So, Tuesday the 19th of January, today. Our learning objective today is to plan a diary entry. And to be successful at this, you will need to identify key events within the text, order the events chronologically, choose words carefully to convey emotions, use sensory descriptions. So we're going to be looking at our 5 senses and thinking about how we can incorporate all of them into our writing. And to identify features associated with the genre. So thinking about what type of diary we're going to be writing, we're going to identify those features. So planning. Today we're going to plan a diary entry by taking on the role of Lila from The Firework Maker's Daughter. So from our reading lesson yesterday and today, we know that Lila has set off on a journey to Mount Merapi, where she hopes to prove to her father that she does have the 3 gifts needed to be a firework maker by collecting the royal sulphur. So we're going to write a diary entry to describe one of the days in the story in which Lila travels through the jungle. Now remember, in our guided reading lesson that we've just done earlier, she has made it to the jungle and lots of different events are happening. So in order for us to plan our diary, first we need to decide which key events we're going to include. So we're going to have a little look at this passage below, and we're going to decide what is key and what do we not need. All this while, Lila had been making her way through the jungle towards the sacred volcano. Mount Merapi lay far to the north, and she never had seen it until late that afternoon. She came to a bend in the jungle path and found herself beside the river. The size of the great mountain made her gasp. Do you think that's a piece of key information? I think it really is. The first time that she sees the Mount Merapi, that is really, really important. That is a piece of key information. It was far away on the very edge of the world, but even so, it reached halfway up the sky, with the bare sides rising in a perfect cone to the glowing crater at the top. I think describing the volcano as well is really important because it's a key part of this story. That's where she's heading, that's her destination. So it's really important that we get that information in there. From time to time, the fire spirits who lived there rumbled angrily underground and threw boiling rocks high into the air. A plume of eternal smoke drifted from the summit to join the clouds. How can I ever get there? Now that part there is Lila asking herself a question. It's her internal dialogue. Do you know sometimes when you just talk to yourself in your head, do you ever do that? And do you ask yourself questions such as, oh, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder what's for tea. I wonder if I'm going to get that for my birthday. How long is this going to take? We often ask ourselves lots of internal questions. They're called rhetorical questions, okay? And it's where we're asking ourselves a question, but we don't necessarily want an answer. We're just asking the question. And that's a real key part of our diaries. They're really important to put that information into our diary. Okay. How can I ever get there, she wondered, and felt her heart quail. How do you think she was feeling? Let's think about emotion and feeling there. Do you think she was feeling excited? Do you think she was feeling a little bit nervous? Do you think she might have been feeling a little bit anxious and worried? What do you think? But she had chosen to make the journey, and she could hardly turn back now when she'd only just begun. She shifted her bundle from one shoulder to the other and walked on. The jungle was a noisy place. Monkeys gibbered in the trees and parrots screeched and crocodiles snapped their jaws in the river. Do you think that's important key information? Do you think it's important to describe the setting of the jungle? Let's see. Every so often, Lila had to step carefully over a snake sleeping in the sun, and once she heard the roar of a mighty tiger. There was no one to be seen except some fishermen laboriously rowing their boat across the river to the other side. Now, laborious means it was really hard work. She stopped and watched as they brought their boat in towards the bank where they were standing, and they weren't making very good progress. What do you think? So we know from guided reading what happens and who these people are, but imagine that you're Lila at this point now. What do you think she's feeling? What do you think she's thinking? Do you think she does believe that they're fishermen? What do you think? So, what nouns could we pick out of the text to describe in our diary extract? Well, definitely we need Mount Merapi, don't we? The volcano. The jungle. We're definitely going to talk about that. Anything else? Oh, perhaps the river, the fishermen. We can use those, can't we, to describe as well. Now, when we're going to plan our diary, we first need to decide which key events, and we've just talked about that now, haven't we? So we've had a look at those passages, and they're going to be on your worksheet for you to have another look over. But let's have a look at what we're going to add onto this here. You've got this on your worksheet. So the introduction here could be as she's walking through the jungle. So where is she? Well, she's walking through the jungle, isn't she? When is it? Well, if I remember rightly, let's go back and have a look. It says here, Lila had been making her way through the jungle towards the sacred volcano. Mount Merapi lay far to the north, and she'd never seen it until late in the afternoon. So when was it that she saw it? It was late in the afternoon. So that tells me if it's late in the afternoon, it's getting to evening time. Will the sun still be high up in the sky, or will it start to be coming down now? What colours do you think there might be in the sky with the sun coming down? It's definitely not going to be all just blue. I think there might be some oranges and pinks coming. So, where is she? She's in the jungle. She's by herself, isn't she? It's late in the afternoon, and she just sees Mount Merapi. And that is the main key event, when she first sees the volcano. That is really, really important. So, what I'd like you to do next is have a look at the first person. What words would we use there for first person? What words would we use there for feelings? What words would we use there for past tense? And what words would we use there for time conjunctions and adverbials? Okay, and in the middle circle, we're going to add more detail. So that point where she looks at the volcano, what is it that she starts to think? What is it that she starts to see? How does she feel? How does she ask herself any questions? What happens next? Put it in the correct order. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to really focus on today. You're going to be writing and planning the diary entry for when she sees the volcano. How does she feel? Now I've got another sheet that I'd like you to have a go at. So, sorry, before we get onto the other sheet, let's have a little look at describing this here. So I have put down, and you've got this on your worksheet, so I'm just flicking back and forth. What can she see, hear, feel and touch? I'm going to put those two together because it's not just feeling on the inside. What are her feelings? What can she also touch? How does the air feel around her? What can she smell? What can she taste? So having a look here at this beautiful volcano, imagine you're Lila. Imagine you're standing there now and you're looking at this amazing volcano. How do you feel? What can you see? What can you hear? What do you feel inside? What can you smell? What can you taste? Pause the video here. I want you to jot some ideas down on your sheet like this for me. Pause the video now and have a go. Welcome back. Okay, let's have a little chat about that then. I think the first thing that she can see is this huge, ginormous, extensive volcano that's reaching up to the sky. It's quite vast, isn't it? It's very far away. And so she must feel very small in comparison to this huge volcano. Now, what does she hear? Well, I can imagine that she can hear the rumblings inside the volcano. Do you remember it said about the fire fairies keep pushing things up? I think she could be seeing that. Now, I'm going to have to stop the video here, and we're going to have to move to part 2. So what I want you to do is have a look at the next picture on your sheet, and we're going to talk about it in the next video. See you on the other side.